Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we are diving into a service that is, no joke, like a security camera for your entire cloud environment. It's called AWS CloudTrail. And look, if you've ever found yourself in a situation where you desperately need to know exactly who did what and when in your AWS account, well, you're going to want to stick around for this. So let's just paint a picture here, one that might feel a little too familiar for some of you. You walk in on Monday morning, grab your coffee, and poof, a critical database is just gone. Or maybe a security scanner starts screaming because a firewall port has been flung wide open to the entire internet. The first question, the only question that matters in that moment, is always the same. Who did this? And that right there is the exact question AWS CloudTrail was built to answer. I love thinking of it as the black box for your cloud. You know, like on an airplane. It's the flight data recorder that captures every single thing that happens, giving you a perfect, unbroken record of events. It sees everything, and it forgets nothing. Okay, so let's pop the hood and see how this black box actually works. This first section is all about that core idea, how CloudTrail gives you that complete, unblinking record of every single thing that happens in your cloud. So for every, and I mean every, action in your AWS account, CloudTrail answers 4 critical questions. We call them the 4 Ws. First up, who? Who made the API call? Was it Bob from accounting? Was it an automated script? Was it another AWS service? It'll tell you. Next, what? What did they actually do? Did they create a server, delete a file, change a password? You'll know. Then when? When did this happen? Right down to the millisecond. And finally, where? Where did the request come from? What's the source IP address? This level of detail, you guys, is the absolute foundation for security and accountability in the cloud. Now, it's really important to get this next part. CloudTrail doesn't just treat every event the same way. It's smarter than that. It actually categorizes them into 2 main types, which we're going to look at now. Think of it like a security camera that's always on, but it puts different labels on the footage depending on what it sees. And here they are, side by side. On the left, we've got management events. These are the big picture actions that change your infrastructure. Think of it as the control plane, creating a new server, changing a security policy, that kind of stuff. And here's the best part. Your first copy of these logs is totally free. Now, on the right, you have data events. These are actions that happen to the data inside your resources, like someone reading a specific file from a storage bucket. This is the data plane. Now, because these events can generate a massive amount of logs, they're not turned on by default, and they do cost extra. And trust me, we're going to come back to why that little detail is so important. But here's the thing. CloudTrail is way more than just a boring old log file. AWS has built some seriously powerful features on top that transform it from just a passive recorder into a proactive, intelligent security tool that can actually help you find threats. And this is where it gets really, really cool. I mean, what if your audit logs could actually do the detective work for you? What if they could automatically flag weird, potentially malicious behavior without you having to manually sift through millions of lines of text? Well, that's exactly what these 4 superpowers are all about. First, you've got CloudTrail Insights. This thing uses machine learning to spot anomalies, like, hey, why is someone suddenly trying to delete 100 databases at 3 a.m. from a country we've never seen before? Insights will flag that. Then there's log file integrity validation, which is a fancy way of saying you get mathematical proof that your logs haven't been messed with. Super important for legal stuff. If you're in a big company, the organization trail is a lifesaver. It sucks in all the logs from all your different accounts and puts them in one central secure place. And finally, CloudTrail Lake is a total game changer. It lets you use standard SQL to search your logs. So instead of spending hours writing complex scripts, you can just ask a question and get an answer in seconds. Okay, so we've talked about all these cool features, but how does this stuff actually help you in the real world? Let's look at some of the common situations where CloudTrail goes from being a nice-to-have to an absolutely essential tool. As you can see, it's used all over the place. For compliance, if you need to meet standards like PCI for credit cards or HIPAA for healthcare, having an unchangeable audit trail isn't optional, it's a requirement. CloudTrail checks that box. For security analysis, if you do have a breach, this is your primary source of truth. It's how you do the forensic work to figure out what happened. And it's not just for security. For operational troubleshooting, it can be a developer's best friend. When something breaks, CloudTrail can often show you the exact API call that failed and tell you exactly why. Now check this out, because this is probably one of the most powerful ways to use CloudTrail: automated security. So here's how it works. Step 1. An admin makes a mistake and accidentally opens a sensitive port to the entire internet. Whoops. Step 2, CloudTrail sees this happen and records the event instantly. Step 3, that event gets sent over to another service called Amazon Event Bridge, which is basically a big event router. And step 4, Event Bridge triggers a little piece of code, a Lambda function, that automatically closes that port. The whole thing happens in seconds. The vulnerability is fixed before a human even knows it existed. That is awesome. All right, to wrap things up, I want to share a few pro tips. These are the common gotchas, the things that trip everybody up, especially if you happen to be studying for an AWS certification exam. So listen closely because this section could save you a lot of headache. So imagine this. A security incident happened 4 months ago, and you need to investigate. You go to the CloudTrail console, ready to do some detective work, and there's nothing there. The logs you need are just gone. What happened? And here's the secret. That default view in the console, it's called the event history, and it only holds on to logs for 90 days. That's it. If you need to keep logs for longer and for any serious compliance or security reason, you absolutely do. You must create what's called a trail. A trail takes all those events and continuously sends them to an S3 storage bucket, where you can keep them for, well, forever if you want. Okay, one more common mystery for you. You know for a fact that someone deleted a really important file from your S3 bucket. You go to CloudTrail to find the culprit, and nothing. There's no record of the deletion at all. What is going on? Remember when we talked about management events versus data events? Well, deleting a file from S3, that's a data event. And because there can be millions of them, they are not logged by default. You have to go into your trail configuration and specifically turn on logging for these object-level actions. It's a checkbox, but it's one of the most important checkboxes you'll ever click. And one final pro tip on security. By default, CloudTrail logs are already encrypted. That's great. But for the highest level of security, the best practice is to encrypt them with your own key using the AWS Key Management Service, or KMS. Why? Because it gives you full control over who can read your logs, and it lets you manage the lifecycle of that key yourself. So, when you really think about it, CloudTrail gives your cloud a perfect, unchangeable memory. It remembers every single thing that ever happened. Which really just leaves one final question for you. What will you ask it? Thanks for watching The Explainer.